Why wouldn't it be sudden? And we are playing a wonderful game of something.
ODST.
ODST, forgive me. It's been a while. The wonderful honestly, let's just level with everyone for a second. I remember when I first started playing this game. I was actually I was very young when I first started playing these games. I think I was around like well, I don't want to say I was around when it came out. I'm obviously well, should I say I'm an old man? I feel like that would be I
I
feel like
mean,
I would give off
I'm
I'm an
just
old
gonna
man.
say this right now. I'm pretty sure you were around when it came out.
I was
Otherwise,
around when it
you'd
came
be,
out.
otherwise you would be like 5 years old or something right now.
I'm a 5-year-old with a very old sounding voice. No, no. When this first came out, I did play it, and I remember I played a lot of the other Halos before this, right? I
Yeah.
played 2 and stuff like that. But I remember I never actually played this game officially until many years after it came out, even though I had it and I started playing it when it came out because of the just change in aesthetic because you need to basically play as a spec ops trooper and like in at night so underpowered compared to what you're used to as a Spartan. I was just too terrified to play it. I'm like, nope, nope, too scared. Goodbye.
Yeah, that is understandable. I when I first played the game had that kind of fear. Nowadays, I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I respawn. Who the fuck cares? I'm gonna go in and keep trying until I beat something's head in.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the sound of our ad revenue disappearing.
Mm.
But well, what ad revenue? But anyways, on to the topic of today's videos. We've got several things on the docket today. Number one, we'll be talking about as our dear good friend Justin here is actually quite on brand because starting off today, we are going to be talking about the Halo flights that went on for Halo Infinite.
Yes.
And I turn to you, the resident Halo expert on that one.
Well, what we do know about the flights is didn't crash, didn't bug out. Games didn't go and completely crash and break and make you want to go and rip something out.
Isn't that kind of like the standard, not like the kind of accomplishment, but kind of the goal?
Yeah, but
you know.
But what we do know is the flight actually went very well. Gameplay was very solid. In my opinion, I get Halo CE, Halo 3 vibes. So really very solid for 343. They're kind of going back, going and trying to make all of the Halo fan base go and get all the feelings that they want out of the game, and they're doing a really good job of it, really. So gunplay is actually good. Like, you don't get the weird feelings that you get when you're playing like Halo 4 or 5, where some guns kind of feel like they have an infinite range, or some guns go and hit a target even though it really feels like it's not. Everything feels quite solid. Running and movement mechanics. Oh boy, the fun part of any Halo community. When sprint was added in, how there was an uproar. Well, sprinting has actually been, how you say, nerfed, basically.
How do you nerf sprinting? You make them just like asthmatic and
Basically,
turn around their own.
basically, here's the deal. When sprinting was added in, map sizes had to be increased an extreme amount. Otherwise, maps would just feel really claustrophobic and people would always be on top of one another. So, it was a big problem for a lot of people because, if you're able to run around and get to the other side of the map in literal 5 seconds, then yeah, that's not so good. That's how you get the spawn camping in Halo CE again. Like, there's spawn camping in Halo, but you don't want
Not as bad.
if you get Halo CE levels of spawn camping, you know it's bad.
Yeah.
So they've nerfed it down where if you were to run a short distance and walk a short distance, it would feel the same. You'd make the same amount of distance with the same amount of time. So there's no real point in sprinting if you're going to just quickly go around a corner. But if you're doing a long trek, chances are you're gonna notice a difference. You're gonna be able to get around quicker, but making sprinting actually feel viable for what it should be, a long distance run. Not a, oh, here, let me go around the corner at top Mach 5.
At Mach 6, just like
Okay.
that run from Forrest Gump. Run, Forrest, run! Dang, 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 dang. You just bolt
But
across the map.
speaking of Mach 6, the grapple hook.
Oh god.
I've seen some gameplay of the
Oh no.
grapple hook with a rocket launcher going and decimating.
Oh good.
So, for anyone who's ever seen some game where you can rocket jump, basically think about rocket jumping, but without taking any damage and without wasting any ammo.
Oh goodness.
You're just a walking A gun for the ground.
Oh my goodness. Just air attack, just mowing down
Yeah,
everyone with.
no, everything is just bad time. Good luck.
My. I'm
So,
visualing this in my head of just going like Mach 6 with like a grenade launcher and just like basically raining our death on everyone.
yeah, no, pretty much I would say there are a few things that might need to be worked out. Specifically, I would maybe say, think about fixing the grapple a little bit. That way, it's not so overpowered that you can
And we can
fly.
just
Yeah, you can act
can't use
like
a strafing run.
yeah, you can't act like a jet engine or something because that's a little strong. I mean,
Mm,
it would make for a sick frag video, dude. But
please. Please don't do that. I feel like half our audience just got offended right there.
but still, I mean, there's a few things in the game. One of the things that they've added in is kind of a drop shield.
Oh,
So, for anyone who's played Halo 3, there was the armor ability, which was a drop shield, where you could kind of drop down a little short shield. Think the bubble shield and this, and that's what you've got.
oh
But
my.
this shield is useless. It feels like you put a piece of paper in front of you. That's
Well,
how
that's
strong this
descriptive.
shield is.
Think of a shield, but worthless. Great. That's
Base,
very interesting.
basically. Um, really, it's a good concept because I've seen gameplay of people using the shield and dropping it at doorways, and I've seen some real tactical maneuvers. Like, oh, what is this? Is this a battle simulation or video game? Like, people are using a lot of the shields really, really good, and it's really smart.
Hmm.
So it's a good concept, but right now it is in a place where it feels like there's no real point in using it. Because someone can throw it down, and all it takes is 3 pistol shots, and voila, it's open, you're done.
Mm,
So if you need a quick extra few seconds, alright, but not really worth it.
mm.
Like it doesn't even last long enough for you to reload your weapon. And in my opinion, if it can't last long enough for you to reload, it's not worth it at all.
You give 343 a bunch of tips and basically are like saying, "Oh, it's a decent game," as you're basically playing a game
Okay,
from
no,
Bungie's day.
literally everything in Infinite so far feels good. It's just that drop shield, you gotta buff it a little. That thing feels like you're using paper. Like that
Mm.
doesn't feel like a combat shield. That feels like I'm just taking a piece of paper and holding it in front of me. Though,
Oh,
though the shield itself is very unique. It
unique.
has a grid of squares of, I believe, a 3 by 4.
Oh.
So you could actually go and open up the 2 squares in the middle and kind of act like a bunker type of thing.
Huh.
Like I said, it is a very, very unique and innovative type of shield. Like, there is a lot you can do with that. But going back to the point, it's useless because it's paper. Like, I'm sorry to harp where it is, but I mean, that's really all I can really
Beating a dead
find with.
horse there.
I mean, that's the thing though. That's all you can really find with it. The flight itself was very good, and all I can really say is they're going really nice direction with the game and its multiplayer.
Mm. And
So,
let's be honest, games these days are focusing more on their multiplayer aspects than anything else. COD, we're looking at you.
yeah. but we'll see where they go with it, because I mean it is just a flight. It might be in the beta or alpha. I'm not 100% sure where they have it, but
Well, usually alpha builds they don't give to the public. Usually in beta builds is when they start giving it out to the public. Usually alpha's in closed house testing.
yeah. So right now I would say give it some time, but it is in a very good place. Like they're going in a good direction. So I have high hopes for it at least.
Mm-hmm. Well then, that's good. That's good
Mm.
considering how everyone was complaining originally how it looked in very bad because remember if I remember correctly the whole issue first started off with the demo
Textures.
having like pop in and stuff like that and the brute's face looking like it came from a PS1.
Yeah. Yeah, the textures were interesting.
To be honest,
But
maybe that was a fear tactic. If
but
that thing ran at you in full speed, you'd be like, "Oh
but
my
I
god,
mean,
it's
for
horrifying."
me, I'm not really a texture craze. I don't really care how a
My
game
thing.
looks as long as it actually functions.
I can kind of, I certainly can see why people were complaining because again, Halo is the flagship title of the entire Xbox
Yeah.
just console, and if it didn't look good on their new like flashy console, it'd be like, well, that was a waste of $2 million in development money.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they need to make sure it does well, otherwise it's terrible and it doesn't look too good for them. But
We'll get actually.
I will say some fears have come true when it
No.
comes to multiplayer. I've yet to see any assassinations at all, despite the fact that people are,
I
hitting
feel like
each
that's
other
a
in the
minor
back.
topic.
It is a minor, but it is true. Like Halo 5 at least did have assassinations, and that's a
True.
little weird.
Well, I
that
mean,
they
it is
dropped
kind
it.
of. I mean, when you think about it, it is a little weird to think of a Spartan being anything short of very easy to see. And stealth and Spartans, I don't think go
Well,
together.
assassinations have always been random in how they work. Like sometimes it's you drop down on someone and you get an assassination where you snap their neck or something. It's always like Halo Reach is the best case to look at for assassinations because every single one was based off of your positioning on the person you're fighting. So it's interesting to watch because I mean it's a unique way of going and kind of showing what you want to do with your character because in Halo 5 I believe you were able to go and customize what assassination you wanted. I'm not too sure how it worked. I really don't know on that front.
May I just go on an off topic for example? As I'm watching you play ODST, I reminisce on the fact that you were using a much higher brightness setting than I was when I first played. Because one of the reasons was when I was playing, it was so dark that even I had to use night vision or nothing, and that's probably why I never got around to playing it until years later. Because like, oh my goodness, I
Well,
can't
I
see.
also have it on a high brightness setting to go and force myself to try not to use the night vision during the day and stuff like this because if you use it in a high brightness like this, it's
It just
basically
looks white.
useless. Yeah. I try to do that. That way, the night vision's more viable in the situation you're supposed to use it.
I suppose.
That way you don't just use it all the time and it's like, oh, target location, I can see everything. Look at me go.
Eh. Eh. I guess it's just your style, man.
It is.
Me,
I mean, giving players the ability to customize how the game looks is always a good thing.
well, I mean, this brightness is kind of like one of the first things that people ever tried to modify. Because I mean, if you have like a really light-looking game, a really dark-looking game, and it's just a pain in the neck to see, then who's gonna play that?
Yeah, no. Not so fun. So that kind of wraps up the Halo Infinite news, because like I said, everything's looking really nice so far. There is the hype of what exactly they're gonna do with some of the new gear that they're adding in. Like the shield is a very interesting thing.
As we mentioned.
Just make it more viable, please.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
the point of it.
hopefully they don't have any assassinations in the game just yet because they want to go and surprise people or something.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it is a beta or an alpha or whatever the heck it is, so
Yeah.
they can add that stuff in later. It's not too concerning. It's when you see this in the end product that you start being like, okay, this is concerning.
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, I hope it's just along the lines of they're going and kind of covering up what the assassinations will be in order to go and, build some hype and have some surprise for when they do show up.
If I may just throw my 2 cents in there, I honestly doubt it because that feels like something you wouldn't waste the time if I may be so bold as to state that to be
Yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna hide the assassinations. It just doesn't make sense. Like of all the features you would hide in a Halo game, an assassination feature doesn't really
Well, I
fit
mean, it,
on that
it
list.
depends on what
If you
they're
ask me.
doing with it. That's the thing,
Yeah,
though.
it
Like, there's a
depends.
lot, there's a couple of things that we don't know what they're doing with Infinite that it's just, we don't know.
Well, like I said, it is a flagship title, so it's natural they'd keep their cards close to their chest to drive up sales.
Yeah.
If you can even get your hands on a PS5, because let's be frank, if you're playing this on anything less, you're well, I don't
Good
know. Are
luck.
they gonna put this on? Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how powerful graphics it is. Like Xbox has themselves been pretty good at this, where they'll be like, they've even said for like at least a few years from now, they're gonna have all their games be backwards compatible, mandatory at least for the next few years until Xbox sales, um, start increasing. Because it makes no sense to create games that are basically only for a console that next to nobody has. So I don't know. That in one way it is a good thing that more people will be able to play the game, but on the other hand, it does mean that they're gonna have to basically delay the start of the generation in a way where the true power of the
Well, I
graphics
mean,
and everything aren't really gonna come into
haven't
play.
haven't 343 and Microsoft already basically delayed it because originally it was meant to
They did
launch.
delay it, yes.
Like it was meant to launch with
Meant
the
to
new
launch this year.
Xbox.
Yeah, it was meant to launch this year, actually. I think actually early December last year, maybe even, if I remember correctly. But they did delay it after that whole controversy of the face, and they're like, okay, we're gonna push this back indefinitely.
Yeah.
And then only recently, they're like, we've got a new date. That's becoming a very, very common thing in the industry where they're just pushing games back. Sometimes indefinitely, sometimes not. Like, for example, one
Yeah.
of the games I'm looking forward to, Dying Light, was meant to release, I think, a few years ago, I think, at least at this point. Maybe last year, the year before that. But then they just randomly decided to delay it indefinitely. And again, that has to do with stuff like COVID and stuff like that. Terrifying, uh, the terrifying C word that nobody likes to bring up. In fact,
The magical word.
I probably just lost us all ad money just by saying that because
YouTube is disappointed. How dare you say that word?
yeah, YouTube is very sad. So who knows?
Well, we can only hope that things go well and they have something nicely planned for everything.
We can only hope the game turns out good. I'm hoping the game turns out good.
I do too. I mean, it's in a very nice place. Like, I don't know much about the single player. We only seen what we've seen, but the multiplayer is looking nice, and that's the big thing because the multiplayer is always going to be the replay value.
Yeah, call me old-fashioned, but I kind of am the opposite on that one. The fact that they're only showing the multiplayer does slightly concern me because
I can understand that. Yeah.
the single player is kind of the core of what Halo is, and being like, hey, look at this fun multiplayer is kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, Halo's
The,
multiplayer did take off back in the day, but still.
to me, the single player is what draws people in. The multiplayer is what keeps people to stay. Because I mean, the multiplayer can always be different gameplay, different scenarios. Everything will be different when it comes to the multiplayer. But the single player is always going to be the same. So that will get boring, but it'll always be a nice replay value.
Maybe, but I will say there's a reason people come back to things like Mass Effect, the trilogy, and yet it has no multiplayer. There is proof a single player story is very much replayable if you make it right.
Yeah, if you set it up nicely and there's a really good story.
But anyways, going on to stories, the next bit of news we're talking about today is I took the time recently to, and I'm gonna say it, play Marvel's Avengers. Yep, I did it. I splooged the $24 that was, or 27, $24 that the game was being sold for the PS5 version because, yeah,
You know,
it wasn't being sold for much, if at all. Because, it's Marvel's Avengers.
Marvel's
And
Avengers, bro.
anyone who knows this game's reputation is already probably questioning my decision to even spend that much money on the game.
Well,
But
you know.
but I decided to give it a fair try. I honestly have seen all the criticism, I'm sure, in the comment section. If anyone's gonna be like, this game was so well criticized, how do you not know this? Trust me, I've heard everything. I've heard it all.
It's all
And
been
I honestly
heard
think it all
before.
is rightfully deserved. Yes. I think the criticism is rightfully deserved when you look at things like how much it was trying to push like, for example, the marketplace and stuff like that, and how the game was basically a glorified skin shilling machine for ad companies, or not ad companies, but how it was basically shilling skins for example, brands. Like, I remember one of the more infamous ones is that if you were a member of Verizon, you could actually get specific Verizon themed skins for your characters because everyone needs Verizon colored skins. And
Why not? Come
why
on.
not?
Why not? Why wouldn't you want all this?
But honestly, I tried the game. I gave it a fair whack. It's been almost a year since it came out, and I've actually found myself enjoying the actual story itself. I do enjoy, and I do actually enjoy the actual core gameplay of the actual thing, where you go to one place, you fight AIM, you go to the next place, you fight some things, you get a supervillain every once in a while. It's a fun little gameplay loop, and I do enjoy playing things, or I do enjoy playing the Avengers. Recently, they announced that they're going to have the Black Panther expansion, the War for Wakanda, coming out, I think, honestly, next week or something like that. Or maybe even this week now, because I think it was last week when I heard this news. So who knows? Maybe it might be this week, but soon at least. So there is potential for this game to continue. A lot of people are betting that with how this game has been so poorly received, that after they've because they have promised. One of the other big criticisms of this game is that Spider-Man was an exclusive to PS4. The entire Spider-Man character, you can't get him on of anything other than the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And this game came out around the time of the Spider-Man Far From Home movie, which anyone who
Was
knows how
still
Spider-Man,
kind of with Marvel and Disney.
yeah, well, Spider-Man is a very hot thing at the moment, I suppose, or a very hot brand at the moment. So it makes marketing sense to lock him behind a specific console to drive up sales. Is that a smart move? Is that a consumer friendly move? Absolutely not. Don't get me wrong. I am not justifying it at all. I can just see why they did it, let's say.
Well,
That doesn't mean I don't like it.
yeah.
That doesn't mean I like it, I mean.
Yeah.
But I did get the
Understandable.
PS version for that kind of reason. A lot of people, like I said, are kind of betting that this game, because they did promise Sony they have to release Spider-Man for PS4, what they're probably going to do, a lot of people are betting, is that they're going to keep this going until they release Spider-Man, and then they're going to slowly kill it off because it was so poorly received.
Mm,
Like I said, my personal experience was I personally enjoyed the gameplay loop. I enjoyed playing as characters. I enjoyed playing as Hulk and just smashing everything. But that just might be me.
I mean, who doesn't like being a giant brute who doesn't really die? Because, it takes like nuclear
Reasons.
bombs to stop him, basically.
Throws nuclear bombs. Oh my god, it's making him more angry.
It's not working.
It's not working. Get the plasma coil. No, that will only make him more angry.
It's not good enough.
Not good enough. But yeah, no. I honestly, like I said, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I very much agree with the criticisms this game has. But I will say I do hope this game rebounds. And I don't like to say that for every game. There are certain games that I do hope do rebound. This game is a part of that kind of group, you could say. And honestly, truth be told, we're seeing this kind of trend in the industry where games will get released kind of half-baked. You could argue that's kind of on purpose
Mm.
because they hope to fill out the game later. One of probably the more famous examples you could give of this is things like No Man's Sky, original Destiny, and Destiny 2 even.
Yeah.
And in more recent memory, Let's all say it. Anthem.
Yeah.
Anthem. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure if we asked Justin, he'd probably say Fallout 76, which also fits on that list. But
You know, why not launch a game that is clearly not ready for launch and just have people who paid for it be the beta testers?
yep, yep.
Come on.
Let's not. Let's be careful, otherwise he's gonna he's gonna get on his box and he's gonna be like, 76 was an
Everything.
atrocity.
Everything is horrible.
Everything
We're all
is
pain.
it's all pain. But you know what? We're again going back to the idea. We're seeing this trend that the industry is constantly releasing games half baked, some very much on intention because of the idea that, and I honestly feel like this kind of started with things like Destiny 1 back in 2014, was it when it released?
I believe around no. I think 2014 was when
D1. Like I think it was D1. Hold on, let me just check this up.
that's a point in time. I'm not 100% sure because I feel like it might have actually been Halo Reach.
Nope, 2014. Yeah, I was right.
2014?
September 9,
Okay.
2014. Yeah. I feel like one of the most famous like kind of insiders for all of this was Destiny 2, which at the time released half finished, half broken. The content was really not there, and
And
everyone expected it to fail, right?
mm,
But
and not to mention like everything from the first game was non-existent in the second game. Like it was a
well,
vastly different game in so many scenarios. Like you would think some content would come through, but it didn't.
I mean that's a whole different ball of wax, personally. But when
Mm.
you think about like the first game when it released was lacking of content. One of the earliest memes I even remember because I've been around since D1 beta. I like to say that just so I can, I don't know, not flex, but just be like, I've seen stuff.
Yeah.
People in D2 are like, why is it like this? And I can just be like, oh, you think it's bad now. I remember back in D1. I remember the First World War.
I remember when it all began.
I remember when it all began. Yeah, but yeah, one of the earliest memes that became quite infamous at the time was it's even you know it has that Destiny 1 has no story, and that hey, it might have bad story, but at least it's more than D1. You know, that was kind of the famous meme back then of like, hey, it might not be a good story, but at least it's better than Destiny.
Yep.
And and honestly, after that, everyone knows it rebounded. It became very popular. I mean, just look at the success of Destiny and Destiny 2 after that.
Oh yeah, no. Destiny 2 right now is in like a really high place.
Honestly, that was where like D1 was back before D2 launched, and you can kind of see this trend of like the game basically rebooting and then basically clawing its way back every time and getting to this point of being quite, I don't want to say infamous, but quite famous. And I think that was kind of the inciting incident of game companies looking at it and being like, hey, they did it. They made a game that was half finished, well, I don't want to say half broken, but just not there. And then they made it a massive successful franchise. If they can do it, so can we. And I feel like now, instead of Destiny being like the exception, it's almost become the rule, where
Yeah.
game companies are intentionally releasing half-broken stuff with the intention of fixing it and finishing it later.
Pretty much. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to go and release something that's obviously not ready?
And I feel like, again, going back to Marvel's Avengers, the same logic applied. Though I feel like, well, it's not the fact that it was half finished, it was just the fact that it had so much blatant greed coming from it. Between, like I said, the company exclusive skins for Verizon and one other one that I can't remember, because why would I remember stuff like that? You have stuff like that that kind of shows that this game was clearly meant to shill.
Yeah.
It was meant to shill skins, it was meant to shill, you know,
Very, very, very specific niche.
very, I don't want to say a specific niche. Like, I was actually debating on this review, ladies and gentlemen, before we even started this over the weekend, while I was still debating how I was going to approach this topic of the review. And I came to a conclusion that if you're someone who likes superhero stuff and the superhero genre, you're going to like this game. It is just, you will like it because it is fitting right in the category. Like, one of the comparisons I like to draw on a side note is how people like to say that games that are based on animes are not that. Well, I don't want to say games based on animes, but things like the SAO series, which is a completely different topic, has an entire bunch of games on it, and yet no one really likes them. I like them because I'm into that kind of genre and I like that specific anime. You could also reveal, this is also me revealing that I'm a weeb on stream, but hey, that's another point.
You know,
It's another point to be talked
semantics.
about. Semantics, yes. But it is that idea of like, if that is your genre, if that's something you like, you will enjoy this. And one of the things I will say about Marvel Avengers, I will give them credit where credit's due. All of their major expansions for their story are free.
Hmm.
So they don't, that's one of the commitments they made early on, and they are sticking to it. And many people are actually arguing that that's probably what's going to end up sinking them potentially, because outside of the initial purchase of the game, which because of how bad the game is at the current state, it's being sold for dirt cheap. Like I said, I got it originally for $27. Usually industry standard in Canada is like 80 something
Yeah.
or 70. Well, it's supposed to be 70, but the game industry decided to jack it up an extra 10 with the new generation, but let's not get me on my soapbox.
Don't worry
That's a
about it.
whole other ball of
We all
wax.
have the throne we wish to die upon.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, instead I got it for 27, which is really cheap. And since all their major expansions, including the aforementioned War for Wakanda, is free, they'll just give it to you for free. They really don't have many ways of making money and kind of recouping their losses. And their skins were meant to be their major selling point, again, going back to the Verizon skins and shit like that.
Hmm.
And so many people are thinking that because they're not really having a way to recoup their losses, once they put out Spider-Man and basically fulfill their end of the bargain to Sony, they'll just cut their losses and end it there.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll probably just, dump the web slinger.
Yeah, and then be like, done.
We're done. We got our money.
Interestingly enough, this game was produced by Square Enix. Why is that interesting? Well, for those who haven't followed the industry news about games coming out of Square Enix or just games coming out of the industry in general, Square Enix revealed that they're now making another game based on the Marvel's license, this time for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
Why, Disney? Why?
why not?
After the failure that was Marvel's Avengers by many people's estimates, Disney is very content to just be like, sure, you can have the Guardians of the Galaxy license too. It's all right.
Hey, why not? Why not?
I actually thought that was kind of dumb when I first considered this, when I first thought about it. But when you think about it, Square Enix also produced the massively popular Kingdom Hearts series. So they clearly are capable of putting out good stuff. For Disney, that is. It's just not everything is going to be a major selling point, and this one did kind of stink of greed and corporate shillings, so yeah,
See where that
maybe
goes.
this one will be better? Maybe this one will be better and they'll learn from their mistakes, but this is the game industry we're talking about, so let's not hold our breath. Anyways, so in conclusion on the whole Avengers topic, if you're into superheroes and if you like games like this, you will enjoy it. I honestly recommend. Yes, I am indeed standing by this. That I think it is a decent game, not a great game. It's not something you're gonna write home to your parents about, being like, "Oh my goodness, I cried at the end credits." No, you're not. You're not. It's your
It's
regular
okay.
run-of-the-mill superhero game. You go around, you beat up supervillains, you beat up enemies from the comics. It's just all around just mindless fun in a way. It's not a story. It's not a masterpiece of storytelling or game engineering. It's just stupid fun at the end of the day.
Huh.
And like I said, if you're into superheroes, I would recommend you give this a try. If
It's
nothing
worth at
else, it's
least
worth the
taking
dirt
a
cheap
look
money.
into.
Yeah, it's worth giving your money's worth. It's worth at least taking a look. Again, like I said, right now it's dirt cheap. So if it does ever rebound, might as well get it now before it goes back to becoming stupidly expensive. Side note, I actually had that
Like
same
everything.
problem with. Well, I actually made that one mistake one time where No Man's Sky came out. I pre-ordered it on the console, right, back in the day. And I played it, didn't really enjoy it, ended up trading it in. No Man's Sky rebounded, as we all legendarily know. Again, one of those examples of kind of modernizing, or kind of not modernizing, but encouraging that habit of releasing half-baked games. But in their case, I don't believe it was intentional. But
You know.
well, who knows? But anyway, so I traded it in, only for it later to become a smashing hit and go back to its regular standard price after almost what,
A few days.
a year and a half of being cheap as dirt after it was labeled a failure. So when I ended up deciding to rebuy it and giving the new one a try, I had to pay $70 again instead of $20, which used to be because it didn't rebound back then.
You know.
So yeah, don't I suppose the moral of the story is don't. It's not over till it's over, I guess. As cheesy as that is to say, it really is true, especially with the way the industry works these days. Until the game industry, or until the publisher or whatever says, yeah, we're ending the game, don't count your chips on the game being done just yet. Because, like I said, rebounds are becoming more and more common in the industry. And is that a good thing? Well, I would personally say no, but, you know.
We'll see.
We'll see, yeah. So, there we go. Those are our two big topics for today. Small note. We won't be able to do a video next week.
Yes, there is a wonderful thing that I must do for next week. Therefore, I will not be around.
Our dear co-host and editor Justin is being called to do stuff, and thus he cannot join us on the stream.
Life.
Which wouldn't be too much of an issue, but he is also our editor, and plus he's also our co-host, and I don't feel it's right for me to do an episode just by myself because, you know...
And it'd probably be a little tricky because there's a fair amount of stuff that needs to be done when it comes to this.
I have a small
and
suspicion...
and whatnot.
Plus, I'm not that great when it comes to editing. That's always been his department.
Yeah.
Full disclosure. He has been the guy who does the quote-unquote
I've been
editing.
doing YouTube for a couple years, and I know how the YouTube editor works. Though I would like a normal editor, but you know that requires money.
We're looking into that. When this channel takes off, maybe we'll get a good editor.
Oh yes, no,
we'll get an opening theme and everything.
I, for one, have definitely planned to get an actual editor.
And then maybe I'll invest in the same one as well. That way we won't have to deal with this kind of issue, potentially. But that's, again, later down the road. Who knows? Maybe we'll even get the theme song. Maybe I'll negotiate with whoever owns the Pink Panther theme so we can play that in the beginning of the videos. Wouldn't that be fun? We were actually joking about that before the video.
Yeah, come on, dude. Why not?
Who doesn't love that?
We have no association with the Pink Panther or anything like that, but you know,
anything,
why not?
but we can try. We can do it. Or I can just like pull some strings at Disney. I don't know. Use my one stock from my own from Disney. Maybe I shouldn't admit that.
Singular
to be like,
stock.
hey.
I bought a $1 stock. That's it. I own $1.
And use that very great amount of influence that gives me.
At all.
Use that one stock that gives me so much influence to pull some strings and be like, hey, can I have some stuff from the Disney catalog?
Come on. You know you want it.
I want to. I want to. I don't know if they'd let me, but I want to. Anyways, back to the topic. So yeah, we won't be around next week. I feel like personally the news is going to be a little slow next week, but there is one thing that we were wanting to mention, and that is next week in the world of Destiny. Full disclosure again, both of us are Destiny players.
Yep. We play a fair amount of the game, so we have a good understanding of the happenings and what's going on.
Yep. And next week there's going to be a big, or not a big event, but there's going to be some stuff in the story of Destiny.
Yeah, basically next week, it's going to be the final week of the season
of the Splicer.
Yeah, for this couple months season, and
there's been a big drum up of
basically something a lot of people have believed was going to be happening for a while is going to be probably happening.
Probably happening. That is, unless it's all just a trick by Savathun.
Yeah,
we've all been lied to.
Yeah, we'll see where it all happens.
As the channel's resident Destiny lore master, I will Try not to recite all of the books of sorrow backwards.
I will try not to go and commit the heresy.
Justin is being like, please, please don't do that.
Don't tell me the lore for the 17,000th time
Don't.
in the row.
We've been
Please.
on we've been in discussions, and I'll just get into rants about the Destiny's lore. Though I feel like him being the Halo nut and me being the Destiny nut, I feel like we've balanced each other out. He'll rant about the flood, and then I'll rant about, like, I don't know, maybe the hive.
The hive magic, how it's gonna
Hive
take over
magic.
the entire world and we have no chance at all.
Start reciting Hive Apocrypha or something. I don't know. But anyways, so yes, that is an interesting development. I was hoping to cover it, but like I said, we won't be able to do it next week.
Yeah.
I'm hoping when this whole stuff for the season goes down, we'll get some new information about what's happening next season, because it's going to be a build-up. Because of the fact they delayed the expansion that was going to be Witch Queen, they had to basically make an entirely new season just to kind of buy time, you could say. Otherwise, there's going to be like a season that basically ends way earlier, and there's going to be like a few months of dead air, which they kind of did that in Season of Arrivals because of the sudden delay. But since it was at the last minute, they couldn't really make an entirely new season. So they just
Yeah.
kind of had to have several weeks of dead air, and nobody liked that. So
And the other thing is for this season we had a few connections to the Dreaming City, so it's believed the Dreaming City is going to be the next location. I mean, there's so many connections; it's hard to not see it be the next location. And if
yeah,
and if it's not the next location, then what are you doing,
It's gonna be-
Bungie?
what are you doing,
You
Bungie?
fool.
Taking us back to the Dreadnought.
You had a perfect setup.
Perfect
Why?
setup. Why would you do this?
It's like,
Nope, it's all about
we're,
just some
we're
random
gonna be fighting this infection. We've gotten all of this information about this infection. We're probably gonna be fighting it all of a sudden. Now we're fighting
Then it's
like
just-
this new alien that's just a pushover.
Nah, it's just like a double take, and it's like, nope, next season's gonna be about Rasputin and him making his new body, and it's like, what? Why?
Wait,
So random. Wait a second. But anyways, one of the fun facts actually I've been looking forward to is one of the interesting bits of rumbling that's been happening in the Destiny Bungie kind of side of things is that there's apparently a quote unquote, if the leaks are to be believed, there's been like a mega leak that mentions it. And it's been so far true. And it's mentioned a crossover. I think we've mentioned this in the past in several, or at least one past video.
Yes, there's a good chance that Bungie's been trying to push to go and get some reference from Halo. I mean, they've done such a thing in Destiny 1 where, there's a very obvious Master Chief reference, but they want more of a weapon and armor reference. So, we'll see where they have planned.
They've decided to just skip the reference bit and just go full on crossover, which I mean, on one hand, I can see it from Xbox's side of things, because Xbox under Phil Spencer has been playing really nice with other just developers and publishers in general. As I've said in the past, I do remember from a previous episode, Master Chief, I think at least, I mentioned this, has made his way into Fortnite somehow,
Yes.
which I know Justin has mixed feelings about that.
No sense, no reason. Why did you do this? Look how they massacred my boy.
Look how they massacred my son. What have you done? How dare you, Xbox? You are heresy. Remove this filth. But yes, I can see certainly Xbox playing nice with doing that. From what I've heard from my side of things, when Xbox and Bungie split ways, there was something of a little bit of bad blood between them because of the whole mess up that went down with Halo, because Bungie didn't actually own the license to Halo, despite being the people who made Halo, a success.
Yeah,
Which,
the
side
ones
note,
who did everything and all that.
yeah. Which, side note, apparently why they went with Activision, if one of their ex-head developers, or one of the people who was on the board, who was also the head composer for a lot of the music they did for Halo and Destiny, he said when they were shopping around for new publishers, that was actually one of the things, or the only thing they had in their make or break deal thing, is that when they were to go with them, they would have full control over the the IP, and they would also have full ownership of the IP. So if there was ever again another breakup, they would be able to basically take their toy and go home, and not just have to leave it like they did with Halo. Which is why they went with Activision, because apparently they were one of the only people, or the only person who was willing to let them do that. Which is why, even after Halo and or Bungie and Activision's breakup, you know, this Bungie has or Destiny has not become riddled with loot boxes under Activision, because they have no control over it anymore.
Yep.
Because Bungie took the toy and went home.
Let's just hope they weren't influenced enough to follow the dark path.
We could only hope, but
we'll see.
It is what it is. They are kind of operating as an indie studio these days. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. Like I said, or like we said, I should say, there has been murmurs of a crossover between Halo and Destiny, and weapons are probably going to make their way into the game. Some of the rumors indicate that the gravity hammer, among other things, is going to make their way into Destiny. If that happens, yay.
People have been talking about a hammer in Destiny ever since Chosen.
Season of the Chosen, yeah. And the whole hammer of proving, and everyone's like, the animations are in the game, just give us the hammer of proving. And then Bungie's like, nah, we're not giving you that hammer of proving.
You don't deserve. You decided to go through the code, and therefore you don't get.
You don't get the hammer. But if they do give the gravity hammer, they could kind of kill two birds with one stone, give people a hammer as an exotic, because prior to, if this hammer makes their way into the game, it would be the first hammer exotic, because apparently it's going to come in as an exotic.
Yes.
To ever make its way into the game, or just the only hammer in Destiny, period, no matter if it's an exotic or not. It would be kind of funny that the first exotic, or just hammer in general in Destiny, is the Halo gravity hammer. That would be kind of funny, but yeah. And I can kind of see, actually, we were having this discussion a bit earlier, like a while back, about why they didn't bring the energy sword. I was gonna say plasma sword, but the last time I said plasma sword, Justin bit my ear off.
Well, I mean, it's fairly certain it is not plasma. There's a lot of plasma. There are a lot of plasma-based weaponry in the Covenant's arsenal, but I'm pretty certain this sword called Energy Sword is likely just some form of energy.
I'm a lore buff on many categories, but it's a long time since I've touched the Halo catalog, and yet
I'll say this right now. I have the feeling whatever same kind of technology is used to keep the blade in its shape is probably the same that's used for the lightsabers, because let's be honest here, lightsabers have like this fancy specific straight shape, but yet what is its actual energy?
Well, it depends.
It could be plasma. I will say the energy for the energy sword could be plasma, but it's called energy sword, so you know.
It's been theorized by a lot of people who've done like autopsies on what the lightsaber could be made of in the terms of Star Wars, that it's most likely a form of plasma, and that there's some form of kind of capsule that it's kind of or kind of like energy barrier that it's projected in, so it doesn't, because if it's plasma, it would just basically keep going forever. So it's theorized that it's contained in some kind of almost energy field to keep the plasma from just keeping going, which is also why lightsabers can change their size, I've heard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you get that kind of thing in Star Wars Rebels, where they were able to change the size of a lightsaber. Really don't know how that works and what they're doing with that exactly, but...
Well, it would just be a case of changing the size of the capsule that it's contained in.
Perhaps, yeah.
But as for the Covenant's energy, yes, energy sword. Like I said, it's been a while since I've touched Halo, so I don't argue with Justin on like what is and what isn't.
No matter what, it is called an energy sword, so that's the one solid thing. So not the plasma sword.
Well, so is the lightsaber called an energy weapon, but still. But anyways. It's really splitting hairs at that point. But anyways, the reason I brought up the whole energy sword thing earlier is because we were talking about why, or I was kind of saying why it's a kind of a shame they didn't bring in the energy sword. But when you think about it, it makes sense why they didn't, because yes, it is more iconic than the gravity hammer, true enough, but there's also no animations in the game that would kind of be conducive to the energy sword and how it operates
Yeah,
in Halo compared to Destiny.
yeah.
Whereas the gravity
It's
hammer is just a hammer.
the energy sword is kind of more along the lines of like a knife on how you swing it around and everything. So that's a little bit of a problem there because the swords have always been swoosh swoosh, not slash stab.
And Bungie does have this thing about reusing content, which, say what you will, from a game designer standpoint, it does make sense because I mean, being an ex dev myself, revealing a lot of things this stream. Um, I can kind of say it is very hard to make like a single piece of content for anything. You have to get designers involved. You have to get animators involved. You have to get
Everything has to be perfect.
you have to get a bunch of people involved just to make like a basic concept. Like just making a new weapon, you need concept artists, you need animation, you need animators, you need 3D modelers, you need a bunch of stuff. You need coders just to be able to code the thing so it doesn't, when it fires, it's just the bullet doesn't come out the other end of the gun.
Mm.
Um, you need a bunch of stuff just to put in a single piece of content. So I can kind of see why when you look at it, especially with how the fact that Bungie's now kind of operating as an indie studio because they still have no publisher paying their bills anymore. They are still operating independently now that they don't have Activision anymore. They're trying to basically conserve wherever they can, and so it's cheaper to just reuse content and animations. So there are animations for things like what would be kind of for a gravity hammer in a game, yet there's nothing for something compared to the energy sword. So it
Yeah.
would just be easier to just be like, here's the energy sword, or just here's the gravity hammer, input these animations.
Good luck. Have
And
fun.
apparently one of the other things coming in, this was probably one of the earliest things that people were potentially leaked dash speculated on coming in, is the Halo CE Holy Magnum. I call it the Holy Magnum because anyone who's played with the thing knows that it is truly the gun of guns.
A sniper rifle that isn't a sniper rifle.
The handheld sniper rifle.
The combo of the shotgun or assault rifle with the Magnum.
With the Magnum. And if that thing makes its way into the game, that would be fun. I can see a lot of raid challenges being put around that, just
Single weapon. You can only use this. All your kills have to be this. If you get a kill even with melee, you're done. It's over.
just fighting like Riven of 1,000 Voices with Magnum only.
Yep. Good luck.
A fire team versus the Magnum.
I mean, isn't it kind of like the Rat King, basically, that type of thing? I mean, I know I'm pretty sure the Rat King might be a.
I feel like those would be like similar animations. No, it actually is a sidearm, the Rat King. But yeah, I feel like I feel like if they were put the Magnum in, it would be a hand cannon, just because of how powerful it is. Like if you were to make it a sidearm, it would not do it justice. I believe that was one of the things they said when they were leaking the info about it, is that it was going to come in as a hand cannon. Which again, like I said, makes sense because
it is a very powerful weapon.
It is a powerful weapon.
Only the gods can understand and wield it.
Only the gods can understand the power of the Holy Magnum. Oh my goodness.
We've gotten pretty much everything out of the way. Like we said, next week is going to be coming down for Destiny. Halo Infinite's got a good multiplayer thing going on. Hopefully they keep going with that. And Marvel Avengers.
Yep, I would, I said, if you're into superheroes, I would put your $27 in if you're in Canada for it, because it is worth putting a little bit of money in just to get like a little bit of fun out of it.
Yep.
And yeah, and like I said, Black Panther is coming out really soon, like either this week or next week. So, all of Wakanda. It's gonna be fun.
Wakanda forever.
May Black Panther's actor rest in peace.
His time was very short, but his character was nice.
His character was nice, and he gave one hell of a performance. So he certainly put his name in the book of legendary actors by doing it.
Oh yeah, no, that character is very unique and very, very not something you can really replicate very easily.
I almost feel bad for Disney and Marvel having to work around that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of the same situation with like in Star Wars, but this time it's they don't even have any kind of footage probably to go off of.
Mm. And I actually heard, I've heard mumblings in the entertainment industry that actually he managed to keep the fact that he had cancer secret from even Disney themselves, interestingly enough, which is very incredible when you consider the fact that, if you don't know, Disney has a habit of being very micromanagey with their actors and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Disney knows. So the fact that he was able to keep it secret from them is a real, just real shocking and really incredible. But I'm pretty certain if they ever knew, they would never have cast him, just because for fear of this very kind of scenario happening, because they would have to rewrite everything,
Yeah.
or they'd have to recast him, which would piss off a lot of fans, understandably so, admittedly, but still. So
Yeah.
interesting pickle they've been put in. Like I said, I don't think there's a right or wrong thing here.
There really isn't. I mean,
It's just
he wanted to act. Disney wants to go and secure their thing. It's just it's a very not so great scenario to be in.
Not so great. Not so good at all. If this were to be like something like Iron Man after they killed him off in the movies itself, I don't think they'd be in such an issue, because they officially did kill off.
But they kind of just newly added in this character, so it's like,
They're like, we'll have more. They even always go at like the end of these movies when they do it. They're like, they will return. Actually, never mind.
we've got a problem.
Yeah, it's like, we've got a problem. Like I said, going back to Iron Man, they've got like 3 movies out of Robert Downey Jr., as well as all the other movies he's done in for Avengers and stuff like that, and the many Avengers movies. So they've gotten their money's worth out of him. Plus, also, like I said, at this point, the only way they'd bring him back is for like the odd cameo here and there or stuff like that, if they could even do that, because like I said, he's officially dead.
Yeah.
In the story, so it's not much of an issue if, for example, Downey dropped dead. I'm not saying he could. He should. Don't get me wrong.
No.
I don't want that to happen. I'm
It's
just saying.
The character arc is done and set up, so it's all finished there. It's not as big of a problem.
Wouldn't be as big of an issue for the writing team if that were to happen. But in the case of Black Panther, or the guy who played him, I mean, yeah, big problem. Big problem. I'm actually disappointed, because I was really excited to see what else they managed to get out of that, but guess not. Oh well.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see what they have planned. Hopefully, everything does work out in a way, and his family is all right.
No,
I'm pretty sure they knew about it, because like he kept it secret from everyone, probably, but his own family.
I'm sure.
I mean, it'd be really dark to keep it even from your own family.
Yeah, it'd be really dark to. I can imagine keeping it from your coworkers, but it would be dark to keep it from your own family.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Hopefully, you all did enjoy and got some wonderful information out of this, because there are some good things ahead.
Yep. And like I said, we aren't doing next week, so like we say, sorry.
Yeah.
We did try, but stuff happened.
Yeah, when life gives you lemons, you try to make lemonade, but when life gives you anything but lemons, well, then you got a problem.
Yeah, when the in-house editor is gone, we issues. But anyways, I suppose we'll
call it here. Hopefully you all did enjoy, and we will see you around.
And then this has been Nick. That's been Justin. And in the words of the immortal Red Green, I'm pulling for you, or should I say at this point, we're pulling for you, because we're both here. We're all in this together. Good night.